Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have a writing update. I finished the book. I finished writing the sequel to Our Doris in the early part of February. I'd taken a week off work and I don't know why, but at some point in this weird frenzy I ended up writing 28,000 words over a period of 3 days and finishing the sequel. In the past, this would have been normal for me, but it's not nowadays. Nowadays, I like to write slowly. I've been writing the second book really slowly, going about it in the complete wrong way, not really thinking about having a book to finish, but more just enjoying the process of writing, enjoying what I'm doing. So, to write these words in these days was completely unexpected. I hadn't expected my latest writing update video to be me saying I finished the book. I'd expected it to be something like I started a new notebook, which I did because I finished the green notebook that I showed in the previous writing update and I moved on to a black notebook that I ended up not enjoying so much. Maybe that was it. I didn't enjoy writing in this black notebook. I enjoy writing in the blank, like school-sized notebooks, but this one was a bit stiff, and the last one I could bend and I could throw, and kind of when you're writing you really want to be able to just scroll, and this kept closing and you could never find where you were, so I did end up writing the majority of the last 3 monologues straight onto the computer, and I have no idea whether they're terrible or not. Really have no idea. I've finished the book, I have sent it to my good friend Lindsay, who edited the first book for me, and she is going to help me edit the second. I have no idea whether it's any good or not. I like it. I think that it's better than Our Doris. I know that I said in a previous video that the humour is different, and that did become something of a worry for me, and it did put me off writing, but as I said in a previous video, that I reached the point that I was actually enjoying what I was writing about, and I was enjoying the themes I was talking about. And although I did think about, you know, the feminist aspects of it and whether it would actually pass the is it Bechdel or Bechdel test, that thing, I had to let go of that and just write the story. And that sounds terrible, and people are probably going to tell me that it's offended 50,000 different people, but honestly, it's supposed to be comedy, and I know that's been used as an excuse, and I'm not trying to use it as an excuse here. All I'm saying is that in the first book, I offended. Well, I didn't set out to offend people, but there are things that could possibly be seen as offensive, because what I'm doing is I'm taking this very highly strung character who is very acerbic, who is really, she's a bit like an atomic housewife, is the only way that I can think to describe her. I could offend people from Cheadle. I have offended vegans in the past. I know I have, because they've come to me and told me that they were offended. I have offended fat people, which I didn't think was possible being fat myself, but apparently it's very easy to get offended in this day and age. And like I say, I don't say this as like an excuse, because I am a very sarcastic person and I take the piss out of everybody, and not like to a bullying extent, at least I hope it's not to a bullying extent, but that is what I do. I'm very sarcastic, I'm very acerbic. Basically, I could be Doris minus the housewifery, because really kind of lazy. So, and also anyone who knows me knows that I could be this grumpy old person. Very grumpy. I'm a very grumpy person. Not sorry about it, just stating a fact. Although what I'm writing doesn't excuse the fact that people are getting offended, I didn't set out to offend them when I was writing it. And if you're getting offended at a joke about a bacon sandwich, I'm worried for you. I do have a title for the second book, which I will tell you here because it's probably better than talking about offending people and kind of not being sorry about it. The second title was originally this really long-winded title, and in the middle of writing the book I realised that the book no longer fit the title, Originally it was called The Indisputable Patriotism of Our Doris, and it just didn't fit. Like, with what I'd originally planned and where the book ended up going, it didn't fit that. And then I thought that's a really long title to try and get people to remember. Because, you know, I can't remember some of these long titles at the best of time. I was really happy for like one-word titles because it just made things so easy. And yes, I like The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, but that's memorable. This kind of not memorable. In fact, the new title might not be memorable either, but kind of almost fits the story that I ended up writing. And so the second book is called Indisputably Doris. I think it fits. This book goes into more discussions about how these characters came to be these masters of housewifery and how the characters became who they were and who they are. And I don't know that I set out to do that. Originally this was just, the second book was just going to be a book focusing on something similar. Like, the first book focuses on a garden safari and Doris trying to become fifth house in the garden safari and going about it all the wrong way. And the second book does something similar in that it has Doris vying for a spot as chairwoman of the WI. Anyway, the second Doris book, Indisputably Doris, what has a provisional date of being released on July the 1st. Now, since I decided that date, because it kind of coincided with 2 years after the first book, and I didn't really want to be releasing it after I turned 25, because obviously then I'll just feel like a failure. But alas, as things are wont to happen, a few things have arisen at work that have led to me doing more overtime, and although I could work on the book in the evenings, I'm not really comfortable. I won't have as much time to do all the things that I want to do with this book like I did with the first book. I need to get the cover design down, and I do have a draft cover design, but it's taken a while to work out because every time I seem to do something, the program decides to do something else, and I don't know what its problem is, but it really doesn't want to help me out now, which is probably the same thing that happened with the first book, but that was over 2 years ago, and I have a poor memory. There's no, like, cannabis or any sort of drugs in my system. I'm just absent-minded. I also have to get in touch with libraries and ask people whether I can go and read at their libraries and be part of events with them. That's all well and good, but I can't commit to anything at the moment because I don't know when I will be finishing this overtime at work. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is that this book is definitely not going to be out on July 1st. I'm hoping to find out when my overtime's going to end, and then when the overtime ends, which is probably going to be at the end of July, I will think about bringing the book out. I think I might push it back to the end of August. Originally that was my target date to have the book released, was the end of August. I moved it 2 months this way because I just thought that I had the time, but I clearly don't. And foresight is a great thing. And as they say, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. Anyway, so the book will be released at some point this year. Hopefully my friend Lindsay is really enjoying the book and she is able to help me edit the book and get things where they should be, because sometimes I write sentences that make no sense at all, but in my head they made perfect sense. And I believe that's because I'm from the north. You know, it's the better part of most countries. Some of them not so much, but that's well publicised. You know, you get points out of 10 if you can name those countries. I'm talking about England. Northwest England. Basically my house. I am not afraid to say it. I don't know what I'm saying. I really don't. Anyway, I wrote a book. It's finished and it's being edited, which was the whole point of this video. It's called Indisputably Doris. It's going to be out at some point. I wrote it. Someone else is helping me edit it. It's going to be a great book. You can really enjoy yourself. And I don't think there are going to be any tears. There's going to be some slapstick humour in there. I decided to play the long game with some jokes. Really, I was just experimenting with comedy and my writing. And it could be the worst book ever written. This could be worse than 50 Shades of Grey. So, I don't know. It could be the best book ever written, but I highly doubt that. But I do think it improves on Doris, and I do think that it's great, and I'm really proud to have written it, and really, really proud to have actually finished writing a sequel, because I've tried to finish writing sequels in the past, and it's always come to nothing. So I am extremely, exceptionally happy to have finally managed to write a sequel, and I have started the next sequel, which will be the last book that I'm writing about Doris. Because trilogies, people like trilogies, right? I don't know. I planned a trilogy when I started. It was always going to be like this comedy thing, and I never wanted it to go too far or become too wacky. And I think that 3 books is going to be able to do that, to encapsulate what I wanted to say, and to end in a really nice place. I also really, although I have really enjoyed working with these characters, we're getting on for 6 years of me writing about Doris and Harold, and I don't regret a minute of it, but someone described these characters as a comfort zone for me, and as writers we should always be striving not to be in comfort zones and to be improving ourselves. And so I think that 3 books will be everything I wanted to say about Doris and everything I wanted to say about that situation, and then I'll move on. And I already have ideas in the pipeline. I have the idea for the Cozy Crime, for maybe possible spin-off books from certain events that we have seen within Doris. More books set in Partridge Mews. That's fine. Just, I can't with Doris. Because 6 years of being with this acerbic woman, I have become an acerbic old woman myself. And that's fine. I invested in a lot of jumpers. But what can you do? I gave up sugar for this. I'm gonna go because my cup of tea is getting cold and I really said nothing in this video. There's also some bird that I might go and feed to the dogs. I don't know. Might just go back to bed. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about the book, please feel free to ask them down below. Even if it's about the writing process, which didn't include methamphetamines or drugs. It didn't even include sugar this time round. I've said that already, but yeah, I gave up sugar and I don't know why. Anyway, until next time, that is all.